Henrietta Lacks was born in Roanoke, Virginia in 1920. Her early life was typical for the time, but one day she noticed she had abnormal bleeding and pain in her abdomen. She was diagnosed with cervical cancer when she reluctantly went to Johns Hopkins Hospital. Over time, her condition worsened, and during a biopsy in 1951, cells from a cancerous mass in her cervix were harvested without her consent. The man who took her cells was Dr. George Otto Guy. So here's the main question. Would she have been exploited if she wasn't black? What if consent laws were the way they are now back then? So, what is informed consent? Informed consent is consent by a person to undergo a medical procedure, participate in a clinical trial, or be counseled by a professional such as a social worker or lawyer after receiving all material information regarding risks, benefits, and alternatives. How could she have been exploited if these laws exist? Well, they didn't. Lots of guidelines that doctors are required to follow come from something called the Common Rule. But the Common Rule wasn't initially released until all the way in 1981, which is around 30 years after she died. This, without a doubt, allowed doctors to use race and gender to harvest samples unethically. Quotes from the book The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot can help to back up this claim. A quote that shows who was interested in these cells is, "His laboratory looked like the negative of a Ku Klux Klan rally." This shows the kind of people that were in positions of power back then. So what are we doing to fix it? We can't go back and undo what was done, but we can create guidelines to prevent something like this from happening again. Title VI of Civil Rights Act of 1964 sets guidelines to prevent and prohibit medical racism and discrimination. Medical companies are offering the living family of Henrietta Lacks to receive financial compensation for what was done. But none of this will erase what was taken from Henrietta. We can't put the genie back in the bottle. What came out of taking her cells? Vaccines for poliovirus and HPV virus were developed from Henrietta's cells. Her cells also infinitely replicate outside of her body, unlike other human cell lines used in lab. While Henrietta's cells were unfortunately taken without her consent, there's nothing we can do to fix that. And in the grand scheme of science, it did way more good than bad. What we can do is celebrate Henrietta's contribution to modern medicine and recognize her sacrifice. Thank you.